Welcome to the Pencil Bob channel. I hope you enjoy my stories. Please like and subscribe, and hit that notification icon so you never miss out. Now on with the stories.
I just received an interesting email from my HOA. Starting in 2 days, the roofs of 5 condo buildings, 40 units, will be replaced. The affected areas will be blocked off. I'm kind of pissed that these idiots can't bother to give more advance notice, but that ain't even the main issue here. Let me take you back about 2 years. I stumbled upon something fishy. The townhome HOA and a condo HOA were improperly merged together. Now, this wasn't just some minor paperwork mix-up. We're talking about serious conflicts in the documents. One big example, the roof replacement cost for townhomes was supposed to be the sole responsibility of the owner, while the condo replacement was meant to be a shared cost for the HOA. And trust me, that was just the tip of the iceberg. When I first found out about this mess, I started digging deeper. I mean, these condo units were built around 2009, so I figured the roofs would need replacing in about 0 years. Turns out, I was a bit off in my estimation, but that's beside the point. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The condos don't have much in reserves right now because of the split. And let me tell you, a large part of the fight with them was because they wanted to split the funds based on the percentage of condo units in the area. Sounds fair, right? Wrong. I couldn't just sit back and let this happen. So, I rolled up my sleeves and dove into the numbers. We're talking about reviewing around 6 years of transactions. It was a nightmare, let me tell you. Spreadsheets, receipts, bank statements, you name it. I went through it. But you know what? It paid off. I managed to get them $10,000 more than they initially wanted. You'd think people would be grateful, right? You don't want to know how many hate-filled emails I got from the condo board for doing that. They acted like I'd personally insulted their mothers or something. According to them, I was a bad person for questioning their so-called accounting experts. Can you believe that? I was just trying to make sure everything was fair and by the book. But wait, it gets better. The condo owners also refused to raise dues until around 2020. I mean, talk about short-sighted. Did they think the buildings would maintain themselves? And get this, one of the things the former board president kept yapping about was how townhome owners were going to help pay for the roof replacement. Yeah, like that was going to happen on my watch. Now, I don't know exactly how much this saved the townhome owners, but my guess is anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. That's not chump change, folks. That's real money that could go towards, I don't know, actually maintaining their own properties instead of subsidizing the condos. But let me tell you, getting to this point wasn't easy. It was a long, frustrating battle. There were times when I wanted to just throw in the towel and let them have their way. But I kept reminding myself what was at stake here. I remember one particularly heated meeting where I presented my findings. The room was packed, and you could cut the tension with a knife. As I started going through the numbers, I could see the condo board members shifting uncomfortably in their seats. They knew I had them cornered. One of them, let's call him Bob, stood up and tried to discredit me. "Who do you think you are?" he shouted, his face red with anger. "You're not an accountant. You're just causing trouble." I stayed calm, looked him straight in the eye, and said, "You're right, Bob. I'm not an accountant. I'm just a homeowner who can read and do basic math. And the math doesn't lie." That shut him up pretty quick. But it wasn't just the board I had to deal with. Some of my neighbors thought I was causing unnecessary drama. They'd give me the cold shoulder at community events or whisper behind my back. It was tough, I'm not going to lie. There were days when I questioned if it was all worth it. But then I'd think about the principle of the thing. It wasn't just about the money, although that was certainly important. It was about fairness, about following the rules that we all agreed to when we moved into this community. I spent countless nights poring over documents, researching HOA laws, and preparing my case. My dining room table disappeared under stacks of papers, and my computer screen was permanently open to spreadsheets and legal websites. My family thought I was obsessed, and maybe I was, but I couldn't let it go. I knew I was right, and I was determined to prove it. The turning point came when I managed to get a few other homeowners on my side. Once they saw the evidence I'd gathered, they couldn't ignore it. We formed a little group, meeting in each other's living rooms, strategizing how to present our case to the rest of the community. It wasn't easy. We faced a lot of resistance, a lot of people who just wanted to keep the peace and not rock the boat. But we persevered. We organized town halls, created informative flyers, and even set up a website to share our findings. Slowly but surely, more and more homeowners started to see things our way. The condo board tried every trick in the book to discredit us. They hired fancy lawyers. They tried to intimidate us with legal jargon. They even spread rumors about our personal lives. It was ugly, real ugly. But we stood our ground. We knew we were in the right, and we weren't going to back down. The final showdown came at the annual HOA meeting. The room was packed. Emotions were running high. I presented our case, laying out all the evidence we'd gathered over the past months. I'll never forget the moment when the vote was called. As the hands went up, I held my breath. And then, victory. We'd done it. The community had voted to separate the HOAs and rectify the improper merger. The relief and satisfaction I felt in that moment was indescribable. All those sleepless nights, all those heated arguments, all those dirty looks from neighbors, it had all been worth it. But our work wasn't done. Once the decision was made, we had to actually implement it. That meant more meetings, more paperwork, more negotiations. But this time, we had the backing of the community behind us. We had to untangle years of mixed finances, separate out the reserves, and create new budgets for each HOA. It was a logistical nightmare, but we tackled it head on. And you know what? As we went through this process, something unexpected happened. Some of the people who had been our biggest opponents started coming around. They saw that we weren't just troublemakers, that we were actually working to make things better for everyone. One day, Bob, the same Bob who had yelled at me in that meeting, came up to me and shook my hand. "I was wrong about you," he said. "You did good. That meant more to me than any financial savings ever could." Now, here we are, 2 years later. The HOAs are properly separated, the finances are in order, and we're all playing by the rules we agreed to. And just in time, too, with this roof replacement coming up. When I got that email about the roof replacement, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Because I know that without our efforts, this cost would have been unfairly distributed. The town homeowners would have been on the hook for thousands of dollars that they shouldn't have had to pay. Sure, the short notice is annoying. 2 days? Come on. That's ridiculous. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a minor inconvenience compared to what we've achieved. I look out my window at the condo buildings, imagining the work that's about to start. In a few days, those roofs will be torn off and replaced. It's going to be noisy, it's going to be messy, and it's going to be inconvenient. But you know what? Every time I hear a hammer or see a worker up there, I'm going to smile. Because I know that this work is being paid for fairly, according to the rules we all agreed to. It's not just about the money. Although saving $3,000 to $5,000 per town homeowner is nothing to sneeze at. It's about principle. It's about fairness. It's about standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. I've learned a lot through this whole process. I've learned about HOA laws, about accounting, about community organizing. But more than that, I've learned about perseverance, about standing up for what you believe in, even when it seems like the whole world is against you. As I sit here, reflecting on everything that's happened, I feel a mix of emotions. I'm proud of what we've accomplished, but I'm also tired. It's been a long, hard fight, but you know what? I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Because at the end of the day, this is our community. These are our homes, and we have the right, no, the responsibility to make sure they're managed fairly and properly. So yeah, in 2 days, the roofers are going to show up and start tearing off shingles. It's going to be a hassle, no doubt about it. But every time I look up at those new roofs, I'm going to remember what we fought for and what we achieved. And to any other homeowners out there dealing with HOA issues, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to fight for what's right. It might not be easy, but trust me, it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, this is about more than just roofs or dues or bylaws. It's about community. It's about fairness. It's about standing up for what's right. And that, my friends, is worth fighting for. C1. If the townhomes are single family, it is very likely that the roof is the responsibility of the owner. That is customary. It is limited common element or not even a common element. For multi-unit buildings, the roof is common element. Either way, you pay for your new roof. 10 years for a roof is a short time. If you live on the coasts or in the south where there is more heat and the storms are more severe, 10 years might be right. With good and consistent maintenance, spring and fall, you can add at least 5 years to a roof. The conflicts you see may not be there for both properties. Look at the common elements and limited common elements. How parts of the property are classified and used is a big determinant of who is responsible for upkeep and repairs. C2. Typical HOA BS. These power-hungry jerks always find a way to screw over homeowners. 2 days notice for a major roof replacement? Are they kidding? And don't even get me started on that shady merger. It's like they're trying to see how much they can get away with before someone calls them out. Props to the op for digging into those finances and exposing their crap. Bet those board members were real mad when they couldn't line their pockets with town homeowners' cash. HOAs are just mini dictatorship. And this one's no different. They should all be abolished. Let people manage their own damn properties without these wannabe tyrants breathing down their necks. C3. The audacity of this HOA is astounding. Merging 2 separate entities without proper documentation? That's not just incompetence, it's borderline fraudulent. The fact that it took a resident's personal investigation to uncover this mess speaks volumes about the board's lack of transparency and accountability. And their response to being called out? Childish tantrums and baseless accusations. It's clear they were more concerned with maintaining their power than acting in the best interests of the community. This whole debacle underscores the need for stricter oversight of HOAs and more robust protections for homeowners. The system is clearly broken when it takes this much effort to force an HOA to simply follow its own rules. If you like our stories, then please like and subscribe and comment, and remember to hit that bell icon so you never miss out. We have new stories almost every day. I never thought I'd see the day when my neighbor, Mr. Fancy Pants with his shiny $120,000 Tesla, had to park his prized possession outside his garage like some common car. It's almost comical, really. Here he was, thinking he was all high and mighty with his eco-friendly electric vehicle. And now it's sitting out there for all the world to see and potentially mess with. You see, our HOA, that's Homeowners Association for those of you lucky enough to not know what that is, decided to throw a wrench in everyone's plans. They came up with this brilliant idea that all electric vehicles got to be parked outside now. Can you believe it? And get this, it's all because of some insurance mumbo-jumbo. Now, I ain't no expert on insurance policies or nothing, but apparently, the insurance company won't cover our property this year unless all the EVs are out in the open. They're scared of these fancy batteries catching fire or something. I mean, I guess I can kind of see their point when it comes to our place. Our units are all connected, so if one goes up in flames, we're all going to be toast, literally. But here's the thing that really gets my goat. This rule applies to everyone, even folks with houses that ain't attached to anyone else's. How does that make any sense? If Joe Schmo's Tesla decides to throw a fit and burst into flames, it ain't gonna affect nobody but Joe and his perfectly manicured lawn. Now, my wife, bless her heart, she thinks I'm overreacting. She says, honey, the HOA is just trying to keep us all safe. But I tell ya, I smell something fishy, and it ain't last night's dinner. You see, these HOA folks, they're all about the money. They don't give 2 hoots about the environment or our safety. Nah, they're just worried about their bottom line and probably lining their own pockets while they're at it. I've been watching them for years now. And let me tell you, the signs are all there. You ever notice how there's always speed bumps outside their units? Or how their buildings always seem to get fixed up first? It's like they've got some kind of priority pass or something. And don't even get me started on the fees. $500,000 for a unit, and then they slap you with a $325 monthly fee on top of that. It's highway robbery, I tell ya. But my wife, she just rolls her eyes at me. She thinks I'm seeing conspiracies where there ain't none. But I know better. I've been around the block a few times, and I can smell a rat from a mile away. So here we are, with Mr. Tesla having to park his fancy car out in the elements. I almost feel bad for the guy. Almost. But then I remember how he used to strut around, nose in the air, acting like he was saving the planet 1 electric mile at a time. Now, don't get me wrong. I ain't against electric cars or nothing. I think they're pretty neat, actually. But there's something about seeing that expensive hunk of metal sitting out there in the rain that just tickles me pink. I wonder how long it'll take before he starts worrying about bird poop on his precious paint job. Or maybe he'll start fretting about the sun fattening his leather seats. Oh, the humanity! But jokes aside, this whole situation's got me thinking. What's next? Are they going to make us all park our cars outside? Or maybe they'll decide that gas grills are too dangerous and ban those too. Before you know it, we'll all be cooking our burgers with solar-powered ovens or something. And let's not forget about the security issue. I mean, sure, we live in a pretty safe neighborhood, but you never know. That Tesla's got more computers in it than NASA, I reckon. What if some tech-savvy thief decides to take it for a joyride? I tried bringing this up at the last HOA meeting, but you'd think I was speaking Chinese or something. They just nodded and smiled and said they'd take it under advisement. Yeah, right. I'll believe it when pigs fly. So now, every morning when I step outside to grab the paper, I see that Tesla's sitting there. It's like a constant reminder of how crazy this world's getting. I mean, who would have thought that owning an electric car would turn into such a hassle? I gotta admit, though, there's a part of me that's enjoying this a little too much. It's like karma or something. All those times Mr. Tesla owner looked down his nose at my old pickup truck, and now look at us. We're both parking outside like a couple of regular Joes. But here's the real kicker, and don't tell my wife I said this, I'm actually starting to feel a little bad for the guy. I mean, he probably bought that car thinking he was doing the right thing, you know, saving the environment and all that jazz, and now he's being punished for it. It's got me wondering if maybe, just maybe, I've been a little too hard on the HOA. Maybe they really are just trying to keep us safe. But then I remember all the other stuff they've pulled over the years, and I think, nah, they're still a bunch of money-grubbing so-and-sos. So here we are, in this bizarre situation where the fanciest car in the neighborhood is parked outside like some kind of outcast. It's enough to make you laugh, ain't it? But it also makes you think about how complicated things have gotten. I mean, when I was growing up, the only thing we had to worry about with cars was whether they'd start on a cold morning. Now we're dealing with batteries that might catch fire, insurance companies that won't cover them, and HOAs that are banishing them to the great outdoors. It's a crazy world we're living in, that's for sure. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're all in this together. Even Mr. Tesla owner, with his fancy car sitting out in the rain. Maybe this whole situation will bring us all a little closer together. Or maybe it'll just give us something new to argue about at the next HOA meeting. Either way, I'll be here, watching it all unfold from my front porch, wondering what kind of crazy rule they'll come up with next. And who knows, maybe one day, I'll even buy myself one of them electric cars. But you can bet your bottom dollar I'll be fighting tooth and nail to park it in my garage. C1. It sounds like an HOA problem as the owner cannot simply insure his own property as an individual homeowner. Being a true property owner and being part of an HOA are mutually exclusive. C2. Are your units connected? Your post kind of sounds like they are, but then you say you don't understand why they'd apply that to disconnected units. They may not because of the gaps. Insurance can have different rules for different types of structures. And insurance isn't the one being stupid. Ensuring they keep insurance on the building and what they're supposed to do. C3. Worked in EMS for about 7 years. A lot of my buddies were firefighters. There was one time the only way they could put out the burning EV was by dumping it in a literal lake, and they had to leave it there for 2 months. They tried to take it out after 1 month, but the thing reignited itself shortly after being back out of the water, so they had to toss it back in. Those EV fire are absolutely no joke. I personally feel like there should be a law preventing them from being parked in near multi-dwelling buildings, or even parking garages due to how hard it is to get one towed out that's on fire. But there's just not the infrastructure in most areas to create large enough, dedicated charging stations that are in reasonable distance from most of those types of places, at least not where I'm located. IDK what the solution is.
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.